Uh, Good night, Belizeans at home and abroad. This is the Belizean Affairs Show number 56 for Monday, 23rd of October, 2023. We're happy that you have taken the opportunity to tune in to our show and follow up on our support in terms of what we're trying to do for the education of the general populace, especially as regards to the constitutional matters and also on issues of the day. My name is Leonard Brackett. Uh, our host for tonight, Chairman Gregory, is not available currently, but he should be coming in if he can get his ISP issues worked out. In the meantime, we're going to start the show and fill in for him. And we have our next panelist, Mr. Roody Wade, who will introduce himself and take on the next part of the program for right now. Thank you very much and good night.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Wade?
Yes, thank you, Leonard. Glad to be always in your company. And like you rightfully says, Gregory will be joining us as soon as he get, his issues with the
Yes, sir.
system, resolved. As you rightfully says, you thank our viewers and listeners, both at home and abroad, and it comes from the heart, from myself also, it's always good to know that we hit home a little, and we educate the public a little, and we give them a little of what is going on for those who do not tune into the local news and what's really going on. We try to update them on the current issues. And as our viewers and listeners know, that we are about people and nation, we are about educating, our people, right? And like you rightfully says, we always, kick off our show with a reading and prayer. So I'll continue from Proverbs chapter 21, 1 to 10. Says, the king's heart is a stream of water, and the hands of the Lord, he turns it wherever he will. Every way of a man is right in his own eyes, but the Lord weighs the heart.
Amen.
To do righteousness and justice is more acceptable to the Lord than sacrifice. Haughty eyes and a proud heart, the lamp of the wicked are sin. The plans of the diligent lead surely to abundance, but everyone who is hasty comes only to poverty. The
Mhm.
getting of treasures by the lying tongue is a fleeting vapor and a snare of death. The violence of the wicked will sweep them away because they refuse to do what is just. The way of the guilty is crooked, but the conduct of the pure is upright. It is better to live in a corner of your housetop than in the house shared with a quarrelsome wife. The soul of the wicked desires evil. His neighbor finds no mercy in his eyes. When a scoffer is punished, the simple becomes wise. When a wise man is instructed, he gains knowledge.
Mhm.
That's my reading from Proverbs.
Amen.
Thank you, Leonard.
Thank you very much to Mr. Wade for the reading. And I'm tempted to believe somehow or another, however you came about choosing those verses for tonight, may have been for divine providence or guidance, because from from my vantage point right now, those verses fit into precisely some of the things that we are about to discuss on tonight's program. And therefore,
Amen.
with your not necessarily being in tune and or being aware specifically as to those particular points and having chosen those verses, from among so many other verses that you could have chosen, says a lot about, what we have
Thank you.
prayed for in terms of divine guidance on this program and how it's being allowed to work out, even when we may not realize, that that is the case.
Thank you.
So thank God for answering our prayers, and thank you for your part that you're playing and allowing yourself to be used to coordinate and to capture the essence of what is it that we're trying to do here on this program. One person said before they were wondering if our program is a church program,
Oh
but I
no.
think, and I think I brought this up before, right?
Yeah, yeah, I've heard you. I've
But
heard you with that already.
but I'm just going back to that again because
Yeah,
they don't understand where we are coming from.
yeah.
They don't understand that what we are doing. We're grateful for the privilege to be alive and to be able to participate and get it done or do it. It's not something that we are doing because somebody is paying us to do, but that we are doing it out of just wanting to get famous and popular, or I mean, the
None of the
getting famous
above.
and popular for doing good things comes with the territory, I would guess. And even if you don't get famous and popular, having done good or attempting to do good should gladden the heart. So that of itself have its own rewards, So, but let me not expose and go and carry on too much with that kind of tapping ourselves on our shoulders, because that's left to be done by people who see us perform and who appreciate what we're doing, or who have a sense of recognition of what is it that we're indulging ourselves in. And while we do, as we always say, start our program off with a reading from the scripture because of our faith, we're not necessarily of the same religious faith, but we serve the same God as many other people do. And I would say that as far as trying to achieve the objective of looking after the best interests of our country and putting our country first before politics and politicians, of course, we cannot keep politics out of striving for the well being of our country, because it is the politicians and politics that got our country where we are, and it is politics that runs the affairs of our country. So we cannot deal with the affairs of our country without indulging ourselves in political issues or political affairs or the hurly-burly of politics. But not because we are Christians, we're supposed to stand on the side and just let the country go, to the other end. Bad things happen when good people stand aside and just be indifferent. And while we may not be able to stop all the bad things because God has given every human being free will, we will want to believe that somehow or another we can play a small part in ameliorating it and or minimizing the negative impact. For tonight, I would like to offer a short prayer before we get deep into the program. Divine loving Father, we thank Thee for the privilege to come before Thy presence once more. We would like to express our gratitude for having given us the opportunity of life and still be able to be here among our family members, friends, and loved ones, and our uh, brothers and sisters from Belize at home and abroad. We pray that Thou mayest continue to help us as we indulge in this program, that we may do so with a sense of gratitude for attempting to serve the cause of and well-being of our country, and that we may be able to achieve that objective by Thy divine guidance and blessings. Please continue to help our family members, friends, and loved ones wherever they are. Guide them, bless them, protect them. Please help those people who are in harm's way with these wars going on all over the place, and people who have need of food and clothes and shelter. For those of us who have it, may we realize and recognize that we are the fortunate ones and give thanks to Thee for granting us that privilege. Be with us now and always, for we ask His mercies in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you.
Now, we don't have a music to play for you at this moment because our engineer and colleague, the chairman for tonight, is unavailable to the show, so we'll just do the next best, make the best of the situation and carry on. Tonight we want to discuss our first topic on the show as regards to taxation, a beautiful jewel of Belize. Render unto Caesar what is Caesar's. And I would like to add on to that,
Amen.
render unto the Belizean people at home and abroad what is duly theirs. So if Caesar gets what's duly his and he refuses to do his part of the rendering, if hell visits his door, then he shouldn't complain and pretend that because he is in a special place or in a special seat of power, that means that he should be excused from the consequences of his maladministration and or his wrongdoings. Because you can't expect to get the good without having to separate it from the bad. And the trick is how to get rid of the bad and make use of the good. But you can't make use of that good only for yourself and your cronies. Mr. Briseño, the normal practices of our central government is to aggregate and accrue the taxes into the coffers of the central government and to return from whom you collect those taxes and on whose behalf you collect those taxes a fair share of those taxes for the health and well-being and upkeep of their villages, their towns, their cities. It is called a subvention, sir, and I'm definitely sure that you are aware of it because you are the minister for that particular portfolio as the Minister of Finance. You cannot expect to be collecting the taxes and doing all manner of shenanigans with it while implying that after you collect those taxes, those other entities have to go about collecting their own taxes for their own upkeep and care and well-being. You call that double dipping. We know that you're in the habit of double dipping. You have shown us that over and over, which is why many times I've called you out and said to you that you're acting as a maligned or a malignant tumor
Tumor.
on our country's well-being. So it's not strange or out of the blue that you find yourself repeating the same things that you're used to doing. That's how you roll. We just think that we're not satisfied with how you roll or is rolling or are rolling right now, you and your cabinet, because that is not what you guys promised when you asked to be elected or to be given a job. To serve us, not to serve yourself and your cronies or your friends. You ask us to give you or entrust you and your colleagues with all governance powers. You ask us for our votes. Some voted for you, others voted for the UDP. But among those who would normally have voted for the UDP, there are many thousands that did not vote for them in the last election because they had to suffer the consequences of their own treachery. And they were advised and forewarned of those consequences, even though they had so much power and they thought that they would never lose. But they could not win if 1/3 of their party could not countenance their behavior. So many of those people did not came out to vote for them. And as a matter of fact, some of them came out and voted for you and the PUP just in order to get rid of the UDP and their treacherous behavior in the last administration. But because we gave you such a big mandate, somehow that power has gotten to your head, and you believe that because we entrusted you with our powers, that you're then entitled to do to us whatever is it that you want to do, and we should just be grateful and go along. I have said to you on many occasions before, it will not end well for your party. It will not end well for you. The other younger people that just started running for office in your party, and one is because people want to give a new, fresh breed of air in our politics. And we thought that you, having proven yourself in the past to be willing to go up against your own prime minister in the well-being of the country, we thought that you was going to carry that on into your own management style and philosophy as regards to your getting the chance to become prime minister and then manage the country. We were always looking favorably to that opportunity and that possible outcome. But for whatever the reasons, after you got the powers, you decided to change. You stopped being the person that you always portray yourself as being, or that we thought you had came across to us as being. And now, it seems like you're trying to do the worst of the worst. And not because you don't know better or are not capable of better. You just don't give a damn. Because according to you, there's no consequences to be had. If you listen to your ministers, them talk, like Mr. Fonseca, for example, he could tell you that he said to the teachers them, after they decide not to be traitors and march on Guatemala's Independence Day as if it was our Independence Day and have our children support that activity unknowingly as to what that represented. He threatened them. They will have consequences, he said to them. As a minister and as someone who was elected by these very same people, it should be far from him to be pulling out of his pocket any kind of threats to these people. But the power that you guys have acquired unto yourself, that came by virtue of us trusting you and believing that you was going to be genuine in what you articulated, you guys are now getting giddy when they get drunk with the power. When they wheel and deal and haul and pull and carry on like if there's no tomorrow. You don't have to do it all in a one day. Well, at least it seems like they try to get it all done in a one term, because based on the way they behave, even as UDP is self-destructing, they have the impression that, well, I have another term to come. But, sir, we will be going back to the UDP and supporting the UDP in the next election. You won't have us to kick around anymore. So don't count on our support for you to get back into office again. And I'm damn well sure that many of the PUPs, them, that I have spoken with and that I am aware of, are as well upset with your shenanigan, and you do not represent them. Maybe you are of the same party, but you do not represent them with your conduct today as regards to what they thought you would have done based on what you said you would have done. Our economy is barely coming out of the pandemic and out of the previous economic doldrums that we had under the UDP. Things are barely moving forward. Yeah. When you take away the teacher and money and you use it to help on yourself, so you could say thanks to the teachers then and the other civil service then that were being punished because they were the ones that kicked you guys out of office the last time, which was basically what that whole shenanigan was about. And then you turn around and take the money and give it to Mr. Ashcroft to pay him off what was owed to him when he could have hold on one little longer and make them people know after they starve and they do without the need change what they needed. And in fact, probably give them the extra pay when they're supposed to get, the increase in their salaries and things like those. Now they turn around, collecting the taxes them, want to hold on to the taxes them to whatever is it. I don't know what devils you're thinking that you're doing or attempting to do, because you know they tell we could only surmise that maybe they try to hold on to it because you know the lawsuits and they come. And you don't want to do like the borough administration to I'll try and see if I can get Gregory in for right now. Greg? Good
Yes.
evening, sir. Good evening. Thanks for showing up. Uh, I just want to close off a statement that I was making before I change. But I didn't want for you to sit in the background there for too long without my acknowledging that you was there. I just want to close this last
Go
statement.
ahead, sir.
I was referring to our Prime Minister, Mr. Britannia, and the fact that they're going to go ahead, because it doesn't happen without his acquiescence or support. Cabinet will not bring anything out of the cabinet meetings and discussions that the Prime Minister is not in favor of. And sometimes they don't bring stuff out that he is still in favor of, like we saw the last time as well. But why they decide to go and pass a law to have the village council them and the tongue boards them and all them people make their own laws or have their laws set up so that they could collect additional taxes out of the people is double dipping. The central government then should not be taking the taxes that they normally be taking from people, and allow then the villages them and the towns them to collect those taxes on their own, but not to double dip. People are suffering enough hardship, as it were. People were complaining about the government allowing the shopkeepers them and the other merchants them to rip them off. Cost of living has been going up so high. People are having a hard time surviving and succeeding. And there's not enough job for everybody to be employed. Even though the man say, well, we had a what? 2.5% unemployment.
2.8.
I guess he must be talking about his own family. He's not talking about the whole country. Because if the Institute of Statistics, the Belize Institute of Statistics, is providing him those numbers to back up that kind of statement, it means then that they are not doing their job adequately, and or somebody over there doesn't know their elbow from their butt. Basically, as simple as that. It means that the people on the street knows more what's going on than the people who are actually doing statistics, calculation, and determining with those calculations where the country is and where it needs to go. And then by the same token, he's claiming that the economy of the country is so good that they're making so much money. And yet he goes and borrow money all over the place. Right now we have the EU sanctioning our country again because of taxation schemes, for example. Then they put pressure, as I said, on the communities them to haul more taxes out of them while he is coming to us and giving tax breaks to the people never want to build the $200 million project out of Key Chapel. And his political colleagues, of whom he is a part of the cabal, why don't collect our taxes that is due to the government or that should be due to the government? Why refuse? Why stop the Bolido and the Latri thing for so many months and not collecting any money out of it that could have been collected? Where's that money going to come from now? Who's going to supplement or replace that money? Are we going to have to go and get another loan to supplement what that Bolido money was taken care of in terms of the government income? How are we going to manage? And why is it that we have to put ourselves in, or our government, let me not say we, because it's not the Belizean people that's putting themselves in the kind of situation, it's the government. The people that we have as a managing our government that are putting us in that awkward situation where now we have to be sanctioned by the EU. Getting sanctioned by the EU means that we can't count on them for no additional funds, for no other additional projects. So what are they do? Run to China, go ask China for some money? Or run to Cuba, run to Venezuela, or run to Nicaragua, or run to Guatemala, go ask Guatemala for some money? Or maybe go to Mexico? They not go to Mexico enough, go ask Mexico for no help when Mexico is willing and able to help them. They're a bunch of connivers and a bunch of malmanagers. They're not looking out for the best interests of the country, as I keep repeating over and over and over. And people probably wonder, why is it that I'm talking about our government, that they're not managing correctly, or they're not looking out for the well-being of the country? And I keep saying negative things about them. All I'm doing is describing their conduct. I'm not the one telling them to go and do what they're doing, for which I have to make comments. Just like to turn it over to Mr. Wade because he has been waiting for quite a while since the show started, and I've been monopolizing the time. Mr. Wade, you could chip in something here
Thank
before
you,
Gregory takes over.
and thank you. Welcome, Mr. Chairman. Nice to have you. And you go ahead and with the program, and I will comment after you.
Okay.
Queue up um, whatever you wanted to show to the nation or the world. But I just say this a little that based on what you said there, Leonard, is that we see we see the intention, the action of this our elected leaders. We see where their interest is at, and we see the laws that they pass to suppress the poor people. Like for instance, this latest one that the chairman is going to show, and what he said, and what's going on, in the villages. They're going to pass. They're going to give the village council certain leverage that they could collect taxes, and only from the poor people, from the poor one, and less fortunate, right? When they want to pop up a lead business, they will go there, and they will
Yeah.
assess you, and they will hit
Squeeze
you with
them.
whatever they want to hit you. They will have a book there, and they will, they probably have one that is legal and one that is not that is illegal, right? Receipt book, because it's a dirty system, right?
Like
This
the workout
People's
doing in
United
PG.
Party,
Like the workout doing in PG,
this
Mr. Wade.
People's, yes, this People's United Party is a very crooked. They they are not what they present themselves to be. Their action is completely different, right, from the things that they say. When you follow, yes, you gotta say you follow the money trail,
Mm-hmm.
you follow the money trail, and you see the crookedness, right? And at the end of the day, this man there is doing his deals in Miami, his Portico deals, his port
Mm-hmm.
deals. He could give a hoot as he's setting up, like the man Ashcroft says. I'm not a lover of Ashcroft. I'm saying he's painting them perfectly well. They're just looking after taking care of their retirement gig, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what he's doing, right? See, um, gasoline station, service station, cracking up all part of the country, right? Something that is detrimental to the people right now because of the high price, but it's popping up all over the country, all the little corners. The Uno gas station, perfectly set up, strategically set up. I will not venture much into that, but do the math and see who won that. Do the math. Is that any beneficiary to the poor people? To we? To the poor and less fortunate? No. It is beneficial to one set of people, 6 or 7 of them, this country, right? And the interests are like taxation, right? Because they are the only one that should eat steak and drink good wine. The rest, I don't know, if you don't want $25, you gotta go kiss up to them, right? It's a generational curse. So what we gotta do now? I for sure will not vote for no UDP, vote for no PUP. Anything otherwise from that, I will support. And if there is none, otherwise I will not support none. I will not be a part of no corruption, no crookedness that, in my humble view, then the days are over with.
Mm-hmm.
Get there how you want get there. I want to continue to do what you want to do. But I say this now, that somebody will come along maybe after I've passed on or before, and they will set on right. UNCAP will be in place,
Mm-hmm.
and that's my prediction. And a lot of UNO, past and present, will bear the blunt, because everything that you have gotten illegally, you will have to return, and there will be a price to pay, right?
And nowhere to hide, Mr. Wade.
So,
Nowhere to
Mr. Man,
hide.
and Mr. Woman, and if 90, 95, 101, still breathing, took away from the people's purse illegally, or the people's asset illegally, some point you will have to pay, right?
Mm-hmm.
So continue on the shenanigans. Do what you want to whoever you want and how you want to do it. But like you said, Leonard, there will be a price to pay at the end. Okay? You know they take Belize down no good road. And I talk broad Creole and real facts. No good road for who they out there, because me, I talk about what's happening here and what it happen to poor people, everyday living, hardness, hardship, right? And the taxes that want to take away from them, like for instance, Social Security, they got a very hard time to get back on $100 where they deserve
Mm-hmm.
them.
Mm-hmm.
When it's not, that's not the way with UNO. When UNO want it, The millions. When your friend want it, the millions. Some of them know you have to fill out no application. Right? You think that's right what you do to the poor people? Public servants work. You have the soldiers them right now retire. You not pay them. Some policeman not get the retirement money yet. As I speak, Mr. Brisenio, and yet you come with this goddamn stupidness that everything is okay. What the hell is wrong with you? There are kids out there suffering because you not pay them their retirement leave. I mean their retirement money. Aren't you aware of that? Then you will say, well, you know, that the people they do their job, make them people. Man, if you could sign and make that evil man, I call him the devil himself, Mr. Ashcroft, get $76,000 in no time. I mean, $76 million in no time. Why the hell you cannot make a law just like how you make any law? You have the super majority, man. What is wrong with you? You know, make these people get at least $150 a month, right? Want to give them? It's a damn shame, and look how they're on the US all about the beg, right? But you not tell them how to do to no people. You not tell them that. You don't need to stop it, man. As for me, you not gonna like me, you can hate me. I will be the voice of the voiceless, and I will talk about the things they want to do wrong, and I will continue to do that, right? Do I hold any allegiance to any one of you? None. Right? And I says that I would never call none of you honorable because that name, that word has a long and good meaning. But in my book, you are not deserved to be called honorable in this country, past and present. Right? You need to turn from wicked ways, right? And do right just by people. Justice in this country is only for a few. We see it plays out every day in this country, right? The ones them that cannot or is not in line and cannot afford, they are the ones that have been punished. They are the ones that want to come on the news and say justice is served. That they want to say. Just because these people can't afford justice. Right? So to give them injustice down the line. And Uno get to ride off with all the deeds and all the crookedness on the do to the taxpayers and the poor people of this country and nation. Ride off in the sunset, sit down around the table with steak and all on a friendly while children are suffering. And Mr. Man, you gotta be ashamed of yourself for unemployment of 2.8%. You have to be ashamed of yourself. Poverty is at an all-time low. You have to be ashamed of yourself. Right? And I'll say no more. Go ahead, Mr. Chairman.
Great.
I thank you guys for humbly being my host while I was having ISP problems. But I sat here and I listened to you guys, and likewise, I feel the same as you guys. But firstly, I would like to say to you, Mr. Wade, and to the Belizean people at home and abroad, never stay in the dark and don't let your vote count. Because there's other way you can make your vote count. I, for one, personally, I see what have been happening to past and present government. And I know general election is coming. And I know there would be some mediocre third party. But that is where my vote will go. I want to have a confusion government. Maybe that will be the only way we might get some serious work done by our government. You see, if it is not working from past and present, and the only two colors we have, blue and red, what's wrong with having a confusion van? Let them watch one another. At least we know we will have the argument in the House with another third party. Let them watch one another. But to abstain and not cast your vote is not helping the cause. So I would urge anyone to get involved and vote, because you can put your vote somewhere else.
Exactly.
You know?
Amen. True thing.
With that said, I would like to piggyback on what my cousin was saying about the EU and the blacklist. You will find that. You will find a blacklist coming for taxes when your government is saying unemployment is 2.8 and you borrowing around abroad. Because money linked to this government, if people know it or not, and I will say it now, is lent on a ratio pertaining to how much people is working. Because that is how you pay back those loans, through taxes that is collected. So when you up there and you specifying about unemployment is 2.8 and you're not paying and you are not in line with the taxes that these people want, then corruption is setting in. You are not doing the right thing. And when these people watch the tax laws that you are passing and raising tax on minorities to try to meet your agenda, and they look at you willing to give away so much to foreign investors and penalize your own people,
Mm-hmm.
what you think will happen? You know, people look at all these things, you know? So it's nothing new as to what is happening in Belize. I've said it on more than one platform when we have these educational show. We're dealing with a present government that has no idea how to run the country when it comes to internal or external policies.
Mm-hmm.
His way around it now is to bastardization of the Constitution to get away from the wrongdoings that they are doing. As you can see how many times he has passed essays that does not trump the Constitution, and using those essays to informally amend the Constitution,
And
not
bludgeon people.
formally, you know. But every time they do that, it come back to haunt them,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Because as I said, these people always tell on themselves. They cannot keep their mouth closed. Everything they say, they mention what is their intention, you know. And I've stated before, likewise, that the foreign policy for the Prime Minister is foreign investors. That is his external policy. Because there's no policy from the government externally that lies with what is happening in the Sarastone. There's no policy with the government internally that lies with what is happening with crime, what is happening with the broken down judicial system. And even now, the conviction rate is falling because they are losing so many cases. And this is the agenda as to why they want to rewrite the Constitution. You know, because Section 3 through 19, which is your fundamental right, which is protected by judicial review, they cannot get around it. And it's causing an issue for them. You see what they're doing. The past government did the same thing. Try to get rid of the Referendum Act. The same thing this government is trying to do. Come up with a non-binding legislation that was passed, the People Constitution Act, to say that has more powers than the present Referendum Act, which is ludicrous.
Mm-hmm.
How crazy can one be? You have at least 8 attorneys sitting with you in the house that knows better than your foreign minister,
Mm-hmm.
who knows how laws are passed in Belize. We have a bar association. We have other private attorneys who knows about legislation and separation of powers. For you to say that the PC,
Jesus.
the People's Constitution Act, carries more weight than the Referendum Act in Section 5, number 22.
Mr. Chairman, to be ignorant is one
Yes,
thing,
go
but
ahead.
to be ignorant is one thing, but to take ignorance and act in ignoramus ways is a travesty unto itself. I will repeat
You
myself.
know,
To
and
be
it's sad because we have said
ignorant,
this before. We have said this before, how laws are made. They are tailored in the house, they go through 3 readings. After they go through their final readings, it is sent to the GG for sanction. That's the only way it can become law.
Mr. Chairman,
You know?
Mr. Chairman, even when they try to make laws and they come up with this bogus approach or practice of doing 3 readings in the same day, that's an anti-constitutional act on their part. But because they have been doing it and doing it over and over and over, and nobody querying to it and or put a foot on their neck to stop them from doing it, they keep doing it.
So right on that.
It is illegal for them to come to the house and make 3 readings in any one day. That's an unconstitutional act. And they all damn well know it. Before the final
And you
reading
know
of
when they
anything
do
that
that?
becomes a law, supposed to have between 30 and 60 days separation of time, so that if anybody objects, they can have the time to be able to discuss it back again and or present some kind of alteration or changes or amendments. When you go and read something 3 times in one day in the same sitting of the House, well, I shouldn't call it same sitting because that's a technical statement also. The sitting of the House could constitute each time when they make a reading as a sitting of the House because they have what they call a recess in between. So technically, they are trying to pretend that they are following what the rules require for it to be constituted as 3 separate readings. That is that, okay, they read it when they first go in at the House in the morning. In a few hours' time, they ask for a recess. They send some of the stuff to committee. The committee does not flesh those things out because they don't have time to flesh out nothing and to write and prepare no new changes or no new legislation within that same space of time. Then come back with the same bogus stuff, present it a second time for the second reading. In another couple hours, and do the same shenanigan. So before 6 hours or the day is up, they have the 3 readings done, and they are violating the Constitution in so doing, but pretending that, oh, they are meeting the criteria of the Constitution because they had 3 readings. But people in Belize, the average person on the street does not understand and know these things, and whatever these guys are doing, they're taking for granted that, well, it's well done, and it's the way it's supposed to be done. So they carry on all the same, but it's not proper. But I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to, on what you have stipulated just now, to point
You
out
are correct
the legality of it.
in what you are saying.
Yeah?
And I will tell you this, that have been done on more than one occasion,
Over and over.
especially when they don't want to get the business senators involved to hear their own input. And that was done in the first Portico deal,
Mm-hmm.
which was presented on the day when they want to try to pass it in the House. So it keeps happening, you know? And as I said before, will not be the first, will not be the last. Even the laws they are creating to protect themselves. These people have no conscience of mind as to what they are doing. They just go and they do it and they tell on themselves and it comes back to haunt them. Because a prime example is the law that they just passed that they are boldly saying is to protect consuls and teachers, and the law is called collective punishment. You want to punish what you classify as a lower class of people if they run into these people, while the Constitution specifies that under the law, everybody has equal protection.
Mr. Chairman?
So they don't want to do that.
Could I add a comment to what
you
you
know?
just said?
Yes, go ahead.
Can I reinforce what you just said there? The law says
yes, go ahead.
Any law that is made cannot be made arbitrarily and capriciously for one person or for a group of people alone. That law, once it becomes law, it's the law of the land and it covers everybody in the country. It's a supreme law of the land, especially if it's a change of the Constitution rather than just a basic SI. But to the point that you rose or that you intimated just now, I want to take it a bit more seriously. That is that these people are trying to create what you call in India, Mr. Wade would know what I'm talking about in this regard, the caste system. In India and many other parts of the world, you have what they call a caste system. People are in different categories: lower class, middle class, higher class, and and within those different castes of individual groups, there's no intermingling, and or it's like just like how you have racism, right? The whites don't mix with the blacks not supposed to mix with the white, the whatever. But they call it the caste.
Let me put it to you this way.
That's what these idiots are trying to bring to
Let me put it to you this way, so that the people at home and abroad can understand what we are speaking about. Israel and Gaza, collective punishment. For so much years, Israel has been doing what it has been doing to the Palestinians.
They call it mowing the land.
And now, when they are being attacked,
oh man,
all of a sudden it is deemed so horrible, and they have their right to protect themselves. But nobody sees the atrocities that they have been doing for so many years. And then, as I said before, the stupid white man who is facilitating with his firepower to help genocide. You know? How can we get by these kind of things? You know? They are saying it is okay for Israel to defend itself, but at the same token, Israel is saying anyone who stays in a certain area is facilitating the terrorists so they can bomb them. What kind of stupidness is that? You know, it is crazy. And this is what we are talking about when we talk about classification when it comes to creating law. You cannot get a national TV and say that you are creating a law to protect a class that is higher above the regular local class. It is unconstitutional, it is ludicrous, and it is crazy.
Mr. Chairman,
and I will say this.
Sorry.
A prime example is the police officer El Morna. Why they lose that ammunition case. That officer was tried in a tribunal and found not guilty. And you know why? because the police department have a policy of an officer carrying ammunition and gun. That what happened to him was dealt with in that department when they had a tribunal. It should have stayed in there. There is no way they should have come with criminal charge of gun and ammunition. And it's stupid. They lost the case and now they want to appeal. That's why we need to really watch and read up
Mr.
on the
Chairman,
constitutional
Mr.
law.
Chairman,
Okay?
there's a thing that is called throwing a case. You make the case ineffective and unsuccessful from the get-go. Basically, that's what you just described. They knew that when that matter goes to court, so long as they set up certain actions, it was going to cause the case to be thrown out of court and or for them to lose the case, because what they were doing was fiddling with the effectiveness of the case itself from the get-go. So you cannot. But anyhow, there was something else that I'm.
The reason why I'm saying this, right? If you heard me talk about collective punishment, in that case, the judge specified that if 10 people is in a car and you find a gun, right? Holding 10 people does not simply verify that they have possession of it. You have to do your investigation. What the Minister of Police said, well, if nobody wants to own up to it, all of them is charged with the same thing.
That's incorrect.
So,
that's unconstitutional.
exactly what the judge says. So here, what is the catch according to him? The same thing they came with the civil assets and the money bill.
Let me ask
Unexplained wealth bill.
Let me ask you a question.
What he said.
Real quick there, Mr. Chairman. Let me ask you a
question. Yes, go ahead.
Right before I. So you mentioned the NAS situation, right? So don't you think that a NAS superior should have been brought in court and charged also? When I say his superior, his section commander or his platoon commander or his patrol commander or his shift commander or whoever is in charge.
Mr. Wade, let me answer that for you. Mr. Wade, let me answer it for you, and I will say it to you like this. When that thing happened, right? They had 90 days to file a charge on his commander in lead, and you know who I'm speaking about. The 90 days had passed, and I have yet or anybody to see the paperwork of any attempt to file any charges. So you know the question you're asking, you should know the answer to that. As I stated before,
doesn't it go back to what
really surprised. I am really surprised how in many of these cases, the same law that is made substantive law by the House is not used rightfully in the right way, because you are making collective punishment law. Because police officers should be tried under the same enterprise law. And they're not doing that. This new law that they made, do you know, if a policeman goes,
they did the right thing,
if a policeman goes right now, Mr. Wade,
right? They did the right thing,
right?
Guilty.
If a policeman goes right now, and a policeman goes and abuse a prisoner, or if a policeman abuse a citizen under this new law, they should be charged with aggravated felony where they can face the 5 years too,
Exactly.
because they move it from
They
common
won't do it.
assault to aggravated felony. Why am I saying this? And I hope the public will understand at home and abroad. Once you're abused by the police officer, don't let them tell you about go to no PSB. That's an aggravated assault, and you want them be
Right.
held accountable by
Go
the
to court.
police department. No
Go to
more chicken games,
go to court under the laws.
okay?
Court. It's
Because
a court
every
action.
time you hear about police brutality, they talk about go to PSB. Since this new law is being passed, it's no more talking about going to PSB. That's a criminal offense, and they should be charged forthwith.
At the time when they were making
Let
that
me
law,
hear from you, Mr. Wade.
Yes,
sorry.
my brother. Thank you. You see, like you say, you see how they play around with things, right? And back to the very, very, very critical situation in this country, that now situation, because that guy had terrorized this nation. Okay, you listen to my terrorize this nation, and they play around with some serious issues. They play around because they found out that they dropped the ball. The man on vacation, he should have handed his weapon. He has no authority to be taken. He's on vacation. You hand in whatever weapon and ammunition you have. Whoever you are, once you are in the system and you're going on leave, you didn't buy that with your personal money. That's a people's assets. That's for the police department to have, not for you to have when you go on your vacation. So that's why he acts. That's why he says, right. When I know that his officer commanding his should have been charged too, right? But they didn't want to make a whole turmoil of it, right? The guy it is his duty to make sure that the guy hand in his weapon and ammunition. But he failed for whatever reason, or for whatever interest he had, or for
Respect the
whatever,
law.
right? For whatever reason, he failed, right? So, and that's water under the bridge, because they're not going to go back and revisit that. That's water under the bridge, and you see the outcome of that particular incident. But God is good. Justice will prevail. He have other charges to answer criminally. It will all played out, and he will get his dust due, right? And I hope and pray that the family of their love, of the family of those murdered victims, get just reward, a just reward. And like we were saying, Leonard, about the laws that these people pass in our country to suit themselves. You see the law they pass to give themselves more power and more protection. The law they pass to show themselves a little bit higher than me and you, Leonard, right? A little bit higher than in society, because the law where they pass for themselves, no good for we, only for them. That's in so many words, right?
That's
So,
what
and I hope that
the Minister of Home Affairs said in his own
yes,
words
sir. Yes, sir.
on TV. Like you
Yes,
said,
sir.
the man even had the graciousness to take down his glasses so we could look in the eye and see if the man was serious when he was making that kind of statement.
I'll say right.
Why was
So
he covering up his eyes? Was he crying because of the tragedy that he was about to bring down on other people?
see,
Or was he crying because of somebody having probably stepped on his toes and caused him some pain? that he wants to exact some vengeance on now? I mean, for whatever reason, we needed to see the man's eyes.
See, but like I say, you see, when you have power in this country, you see the things that you can do, things that you can say, things that you can do and get away with when you have power in this country. And so sad. These are the people that is bringing down this hammer on the other portion of society. We elected them to do that to us. And I say this, they will come back again for
And some people want to
your
vote them back again, you know,
mercy.
Mr. Wade.
Say
Some
again?
people want to vote the man back again
Yes.
to give us another dose of the same medicine.
Yes, sir. They will come back again to you for your mercy. This time around, when they come and say they're sorry and they do better this time. This time you elect them, this time it be for you. We'll make some life for you. We don't make no one for we make for you now.
And people are fall for it again.
Leonard, you
back to
laugh,
another
but
cycle.
and I laugh, but that's true, you know.
The serious matters.
I say it in a
I
joke,
laugh because I
right?
don't want to cry. I can take off my glasses so people can see that my eyes full of water.
Right? That are the same way they come to
Man.
you and they say, this time, my people, we're going and we correct the chaponas and things, and we correct all these things, and you know, I'm paying a high price for your leaf butter and salt and rice and beans and chicken and what you need to live on. Your flour and your baking powder and your coffee and all the other things that you need to live, and all your leave pills and thing. Then go in and we clamp down on it this time for you and make you leave it better. Right? So vote for me again on the gasoline. I could imagine where this man and come and say, now what? Now I own so much gas station. Oh, the first year of no car will be free. Vote for me again. Just go to my gas station and I'm going to free gas. Because I got gas station all over this country. That's why they put it up all over this country. Right? So that when that time come for you, come ask for support. I want to sign this thing and I want to get a year free gas for no vehicle. Right? We don't believe that again. Right? We don't believe that. And this time we pass UNCAC. Right? If they don't turn Belize into a republic by the 2025 next general election, they don't do that. They will come to you and say, UNCAC, we pass for no. This time.
Mr. Wade?
Yes, sir.
Then go turn Belize into a republic. But don't forget to remember that Guatemala is a republic already and has been so for over 200 years.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And yet they had UNCAC in place.
Yes.
We don't have to wait for 200 years for UNCAC come in place, whether we are a republic or not.
Yes,
and that
sir.
is why I'm trying to give these guys a heads up to make them realize what or not to pay attention to. Pay attention.
Yes, sir.
UNCAC is going to come and get them when they're asleep at the wheel, when they least expect.
So,
sorry, sir. Go
I'll
ahead.
pass it over to you, Leonard, by saying this. Open your eyes, man. Right? Stop the make them come to with the Leaf 50, UDP and PUP, right? With the Leaf 50. I think this time Ashcraft when more turn to UDP. They more getting that getting more money than that briefcase. Give the PUP as much when he get, but I think he went shift to the UDP and give the UDP that amount of money that they need. And then when come to now, last election, get 50. This time, get 100, right? For vote for the UDP, because I think this time the UDP have more money on the PUP. Ashcroft will make sure, like he always does, right? He always does. Every election he come through and he gets what he wants, right? Easy as that. But it all rests in the hands of you, the Belizean people. And I say this: if you're not tired of what they do to you, well then, it's there, the red and the blue, any one of them, if you're not tired, I take lick, right? Tired, I go to bed hungry, right? Not tired, I not going job. Not tired, they out on the street corner, they do whatever, whatever, right? Not tired of that. Well then, UDP and the PUP is there, so I take a little 2 minutes to call on the independent thinkers. Make a difference, right? You have the third parties which are compromised, right? And let's hope that they turn and do the right thing and be truthful and for the cause in the name of change. But independent thinkers, Leonard said that, no worry, central government has a responsibility to the nation and people. So I don't feel like if you run independent and you win, that the government no way meet his obligation or have to. No, he has to meet his obligation to you as an independent candidate or an independent representative or an independent mayor. Okay? Yeah, you have it publicly, right? Don't be afraid to put on a name and make that change. This is the time now. Crucial time, this time wrong. Crucial time in our country. Okay? And if you want it to be the way it is right now, well then just shut up and don't do nothing and just let nature takes its course as it always does. And then you will get the same treatment or worse this time. So thank you, Daryl. And I see our chairman has left
Yeah,
again. I think that he has
apparently
some
there is still
difficulties,
some
but
issues going on.
yes, go ahead there,
Uh,
Leonard. I pass it over to you.
yes, sir. Thank you very much, Mr. Wade. And I'd like to ask a favor of the PUP party, who is currently the majority in our house. You guys in the PUP party have a super majority. What else will it take for you guys to improve the governance of the country? How much more people needs to win seats to help on the party start moving in a direction where the country can benefit more substantively from your governance than currently is the situation? I'd like to ask a favor. Please provide better governance for the country. You have a super majority. People trust you. Vindicate people's trust, at least. But my biggest problem is this political issue is going to cause Belize and Belizeans a lot of heartaches, a lot of heartaches. We see the lawsuit starting already. We see the sanctions from the EU already, and there are more sanctions coming down the line from other sources or other places. I don't know why is it so hard or difficult for the people that gets the privilege to participate in the governance of our country, we have the level of fortitude required to do the best they can, because I'm definitely sure they're not doing the best they can. What's going on and what they're doing right now is not the best that they can. I will not accept that as a premise for nobody, even if they then themselves decide that that's the best they can do. Because to a man, to an individual, I could call them by name, and I know that they're capable of better as individual, much less as a government unto itself as a whole. So why the hell can't we get better governance out of we people? They're not short of money. They're not short of knowledge. They're not short of none of the things then that normally you would say, well, should impede their abilities to be able to do better. They just choose to be negligent. And not just basic negligent, criminally negligent, as far as my interpretation of the facts are concerned. Now, who am I to use my judgment to determine, as far as I'm concerned, or as far as I could see, as the measuring rod or the measuring stick, to these individuals that comprise free government? I'm not part of their cabal, but I'm a human being and a Belizean at that, who has enough knowledge and experience in the history of we Belizean politics that gives me the veracity to be able to speak to these issues the way I do. I know where the skeletons are. I've been around long enough, from top to bottom, in and out, up and down, sideways, and all around. I am the person that instigated the creation of the entity that gave birth to the UDP. I was one of the 3 people that drafted the original UDP constitution. And before that, Mr. Price was trying to get me to run for PUP. In fact, he helped me get my education. I'm not a Johnny come lately. I'm not somebody who's just talking because I have a pure lip on my face, like I always say, or because I want to sound eloquent. I know these gentlemen are capable of much better, even while doing all the other shenanigans that they're doing. I don't think that they need to stop do all the craziness that what they do in order to give us better governance. They're able to give us better governance even with all the other craziness than what they do. Well, they shouldn't they do in the first place, mind you, right? Because I'm not pleading for them to continue to do the craziness than what they do in order for them to give us good governance. They can give us good governance even while continuing to be the malignant, sores, and cancerous attitudes that they have displayed. Had they displayed that kind of attitude before they run for the election, they know they're not going to get elected. So they gave us a bait and switch. They baited us with good attitude and good character, especially under the circumstance where we had a malignant government in place in the last UDP government. And we had a pandemic, and we had an economic crisis, and we had a social malaise. We had all kind of thing happening to us. And there came these hyenas, jackals, and jonkos, and vipers, and what do you call it? Bats, Not even bats. They're worse than bat. Draculas or whatever, all they call the Draculas, them or they got some name for them.
Vampires.
Vampires. That's it. Thank you, Mr. Weird. Because these guys are sucking our blood. The man then talk crazy about add additional taxes to people who are living in a village. People where barely they grow and the product for them subsist and survive after. And when they go to a shop to go buy the one or two things, then when they barely could afford to get because they don't got no income, and maybe they save up and save and save. Now they have to go pay extra taxes. When the government don't collect taxes already, your village council and no collect tax from you. The town board and no collect tax from you. Because the government don't want to give them for them subvention where they're supposed to be getting. So they might have to come and pressure you, and the government can give them the authority to pressure you, to make the laws. And then if you don't follow the laws, then they want to classify you as a scofflaw. When they are the damn scofflaws.
Close down your lead business.
You know? That's why I call it criminal contempt. They're contemptuous to the people that elected them and could care one hoot about their well-being. And they're acting like a bunch of gangsters. Why can't they do better? Not because they can't. Or why don't they do better? Not because they shouldn't. Mr. Brisania and the People's United Party. No make me surprised get up out of the grave come talk to no. Because to me it seemed like that are the only thing we are causing of to exercise some good faith and good intention towards the people. Only if Mr. Price jump out of the grave and can scare no. Then we might take some heed and probably start doing a little better. I know that's not going to happen, or at least I don't think it can happen. So I had to do the next best thing. To try and implore to Uno to do a little better than I want to do because Uno could do a hell of a lot better. We don't have to do all the better one we could. Okay, let's say we can cut the thing in half. Do half as much as Uno really could do. And even that half as much would amount to a lot better than I want to do right now. And people could be better off, the society could be better off, less stresses, more opportunities. And then another thing too, I resent very much the fact that every time I come to Belize, and as a general contractor, licensed general contractor over 50 years now, built a lot of buildings and did a lot of wiring and a lot of painting and a lot of other things in Belize while I was there, to come back to Belize on all these different trips that I'm making back and forward. And to see that the only really Spanish man there, they get the jobs there, and the Creole man there, they don't get to participate and get no job because they can't talk the Spanish among the Spanish people there, and the Spanish people they communicate to each other and then work with each other. When any more employees needed on the job site, they bring their cousin, their uncle, and send for their other relatives. And the black people there stay without job. They don't have an income. And then they don't live already, so they find some kind of way, even if it's an illegal way, to come up with some money to feed them picnic or feed them oneself. But I resent very much the fact that the black people have to be marginalized in the way that I see happening in Belize. And the government apparently is unaware of that. The politicians, them, apparently are unaware of that. The government departments, them, apparently are unaware of that. So if you don't have one job and you don't make no money and you don't have no social security contribution, when you get older, what will happen to you then? Social security, don't know they give the people no way contribute anything. You think they can give you anything? If you know they have no job, so the marginalization is not just right now or today. It's been going on yesterday, today, and it's gonna go on tomorrow, and many more months and years to come. And it's only getting worse and worse. I don't have a problem with anybody else get on job, whether Spanish, black, white, green, yellow, whoever. People have to live, all with a human being. But I resent the fact that people are being marginalized just because of their color. That kind of crap shouldn't be happening in Belize. Mr. Weir, I'll turn it over back to you, sir, for the last
Thank you. I
5 minutes.
take
I
the
think
last
I'll,
5 minutes. Say thank you. Yeah.
sir,
Thank you there,
uh,
Leonard.
uh,
It's always a pleasure.
we could use part of that time to speak
My
about what
closing.
you think in regards to your own potential candidacy. And,
I
you know,
I
go ahead,
call
sir.
on I say this real quick, again, I call on the present powers to be, do the right thing by the people, people they punish people in dire need, right? And yet say everything is okay, right? Which is a lie, it's a blatant lie. Ease the burden of the poor people, man, right? Could do it. Have the money, big enough. A lot of grants come in the country. A lot of money comes in the country, and stop using the people's assets, namely the people's land. Stop using the taxpayers' money for our own political agenda and on our own enrichment. That's not the purpose for it, right? People really need help in this country, man. They neglect the poor people, and they burden them, taxation, all the wrong things doing to the poor people. Talking about the poor because 90, sorry, 85% of the people here, only a few rich people in this country. Well, say 85% of poor people, right? So do right by people, man. And again, I call on through this medium, through our medium, I call on the independent thinkers to step up, and I call on the people of the Twin Tongue support my candidacy for the mayorship of this country. I mean, sorry, at Twin Tongue, right? And any other independent candidate who put their name up across this nation, support them. If you want change, the independent candidates are the only change. If not, go back to the 1, 2, 3, right? Then you already know what you stand to gain, right? But for the next town council election coming up March, support Rudy Wade and my councillors, right? Support Rudy Wade and his councillors as independent candidates, right? So, I beg you, this time around, give me your support. I am the only change. And on that note, Leonard, you still have 2 minutes. You could. And
No, sir.
again, thanks,
Go right ahead, Mr. Weir.
thanks to our viewers, our listeners, both at home and abroad. We have loyal supporters, Leonard, that watched us, that tuned into us, and listen to what we have to say. I want to thank them, from the heart, and always, may God bless you, continue to give you the wisdom, the understanding, and the strength, and He shows you His way. And again, may God bless Belize. Thank you, Leonard, and it's always a pleasure to be in your company. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, too, Mr. Weir, for seriously considering yourself as a potential candidate for the Twin Tongue and for having the desire and the fortitude to want to be helpful to your countrymen. It takes a lot of effort, a lot of commitment, a lot of different things it takes to be able to become politically involved, but much more so on the part of those who are independent. You don't have a mass party behind you. You don't have any kind of major money bag, the rapper behind you.
For sure, Ashcroft is not behind me, Leonard. That's for sure. And for
And
sure, the People's United Party, they're behind me, and the UDP party, they're behind me.
and
Right?
you're
So,
someone who at least have
from
a
my very own.
God-fearing mindset that weighs things from a godly and Christ-like Christian perspective. And we have to have people who are God-fearing in our politics. We can't have people who are just indifferent, running our political affairs and having very little care for the 68% of our people who are under the poverty level. We need to rise from that, and we won't rise from that if we keep having the same experience over and over and over.
Exactly.
Change will only come with change. Thank you for offering yourself as a potential change, Sir Wade. God
Thank
bless
you.
Belize and Belizeans at home and abroad. That's the
Thank
end of
you.
our program for tonight, and thank you for tuning in.